Good afternoon. This is the Parashat Bamidbar. It is the first parsha of Sefer Bamidbar. In this case, the parsha and Sefer both have the same name. And to summarize it really quickly, it's a parsha of organization if you look at it. Now, when is it written? When is it read? It's always read before Shavuos. It can be a few days before. In this case, it's 5, 6 days before. In any event, it's read ahead of Shavuot. Now, what is the commonality between them? And I'd first like to start with a question. But before I do, I'm going to summarize the portion. It deals, first of all, with the taking of the census of all the tribes other than Levi, who are going to be dealing with the Mishkan and not going to be going into the army and not going to be getting their own land. They're going to get their own cities, but they're all divided up among the territories of all the tribes. And that's one question. A second question is, excuse me, a factor in this is then they're going to announce there's going to be 4 camps of 3 tribes each will form a square around the Mishkan, and the Levium will be protecting the Mishkan and make sure that none of the other tribes go near it, because it could be fatal for them if they get too close to it. And then after that, it goes on to give a census. It'll explain the Levium will not be uh, in that census. They have their own census, and it talks about the tribes and how the firstborn, originally supposed to be the priestly caste, were going to be exchanged for the Levium, which includes the Kohen named Aaron and his sons. And that pretty much summarizes the portion. Now, the question is, what is the period we in, which is counting the Omer, have to do with this particular portion? And if you look at Sfiras Omer, what are we supposed to be doing? What we are supposed to be doing is, well, besides counting, saying the Bracha and counting every night, we're supposed to be working on the very dearest middos, the 7 of the spheros, 7 spiritual qualities. And what do they have to do? And we're supposed to be working on ourselves individually to get ourselves, raise our level. Now, what is not as emphasized is that this has to be collective as well as individual, jointly, because even though it emphasizes that we're all individuals, as does the census, and we're all significant, and we're all precious to Hashem, there is another thing of unity. And even though the 12 tribes are all very different, as we'll see in next week's parsha with Midbar, where they pray gifts to the princes, dedicate the Mishkan, they all have exactly the same, but they have different meaning for each one of the tribes, because each tribe is unique. Now, that being the case, we have this unity. We have this unity concept. Now, leading up to Shavuos, we should also be working, because look what happened in the time of the original giving of the Torah. Hashem elevated us 49 levels in 49 days. We are at the 49th level of impurity. I've spoken about that before. And we became elevated to the 49th level of purity and wisdom and knowledge. Only on higher was the 50th, representing the 50th day of receiving of the Torah. And Hashem for that year did it for us. We went straight from the impurity of Egypt, and straight up Hashem helped us one level every day. Now, since then, it's been different. Hashem, in the 30 days before before Pesach, the Seder night, Hashem allows the system to work so that one level of our spiritual chametz, the Yetzer Hara, will be gone in the 49 day. It will be gone each one of those 30 nights till we do not have a Yetzer Hara for the um, for the Seder. Hashem brings it back to us the next day, and then we have to elevate ourselves for 49 days because each time of the year has a different special quality, and the spiritual quality of this time of year is preparing and elevating ourselves to get to Shavuos, where we'll again relive the receiving of the Torah. It's a new experience every year. We're getting our share of the Torah. And, well, there's another 8 days this year, somewhere on the 9th day, Shavuos, we're going to get our share of the Torah wisdom that we're going to have for the entire year until next Shavuos. Now, having said that, what does the Parashat Bamidbar have to do with it? See you later. It's not a Pesach, and we have to do it ourselves, so with different qualities. Now, let's look at Parshas Bamidbar, and there's one aspect I'd really like to emphasize here is if you see the 4 camps of 3 tribes each. Why did the Bnei Israel, the Jewish people, want that in the first place? They wanted it because they saw at Matan Torah they were camps of angels and they wanted the same thing. And what does that mean? They want to get closer to Hashem and unite with Him, get close to Him on the spiritual level in the world above, as well as down here. And everything in the Mishkan symbolizes that world above that we're supposed to be emulating. Now, if you look at that, let's look at those 4 camps. And what do they symbolize? They symbolize far more than organizing a military organization for later on, so everybody could serve in the army. It was far more than that and more than just marching. But and this Devar Torah is based on Rav Shimshon from Astropoli, Zohar, various sources, and the Arizal, among others, the Shla. If anybody's interested in knowing which part is doing which source, if they contact me privately, I'll be happy to share that. In any event, and yes, Midrash Rabbah of Bamidbar, and and Zohar. 4 Benes respond to a number of different things. The 4 directions, the 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton, and the 4 faces of the divine chariot. Now, I'm going to explain each one of those. And we have Hashem. Now, what is the Merkava? Merkava with the chariot fire is called Hashem's throne. It was carried by these 4 angels. They had 4 faces, and each one of these 4 faces has a different meaning. Again, the deeper meaning of this is beyond the scope of the Torah, but in any event, so The first of the four camps with their flags was named and it was named was had Yehuda. It was in the east, and what was its color? Similar to the sky blue. Colorship here, sapphire. Symbol is a lion, one of the four angels, face of one of the four angels, depending on Shad's throne. And in addition, it represents the first letter, showing us getting close to Hashem. The first letter of the name Yud K Vav K. It represents the Yud, which equals Chachma. Basically, is the concept of Chesed, according to some. And what does that do? Kingship, being the leader. Now, in the south is Reuven. That's at least he's the head of the camp, this particular banner. And what does he represent? Humanity, tshuva. The color is red, ruby. What is his image? It's of a man, because that's one of the faces of the angel. It represents the first letter Hey in the Nephilim name of Yud K Vav K Havaya. And what does that represent? That is showing human connection to the divine, tshuva. And to the west we have Ephraim. That's a symbol of the ox, strength. Now each one of these angels helps, and Makava helps Hashem at his direction and control, of course, different aspects of the earthly creation. And who is it? Ephraim, Menashe, and Benjamin. Interesting enough, two descendants of Yosef, and the other tribe of the ones that are eventually going to stay in existence and not be dispersed at the time when the other 10 tribes were. And that represents Vav. It's corresponding to the sphere of the ferret. And it shows how one's earthly power can be transformed into meaning. Now, the fourth one is Don. Its banner is justice. Its color seems to be something like turquoise. Its symbol is an eagle. What does it mean? It's the final hay. And what does it represent? Represent Malkut. Kingship, judgment. And what is it now? An eagle is the highest bird. That's why we say Shimbor is like on the wings of eagle, because no harm can come, because no creature goes higher than that. And its spiritual elevation, very apropos to this year, far-reaching insight. Now, there are many other meanings to it, but these are one of the ones I want to go with now. What does all this show? Before that, the Jewish people weren't really organized. It would have been chaotic from the going the desert this way. We're being formed into a cosmic unity. All were serving Hashem. Before we go on to Bamidbar, we're going to go into Eretz Yisrael, which originally was supposed to happen quite quickly until, unfortunately, the sin of the Smaraglim, which is for another time. And therefore, we were unified in physical terms. How we're going to proceed, how the Levium going to organize the Mishkan, on a much deeper level. we were getting unity on all these levels I just discussed. Now, and in fact, there's a very interesting interpretation that shows I want to look at diversity, the other aspect of this, how diversity can move together. And according to the Shla, according to Arizal, the four camps represent the the types of Jews that were back in their time. One was the Ashkenaz, the second was Catalonia, the third one was Italy, and the fourth one was North African, I believe. In any event, those were the four. Now, today, there's no major one in Catalonia. There's no major Jewish population in Italy. But what we do see, I guess today we'd substitute, um, we have four. We have Sephardi, we have Ashkenaz, we have Sephardi. Now, when Sephardi, we usually think of all Jews, then an Ashkenaz. Sephardi, actually, it is not true because there's Sephardim technically are people who come from North Africa. That's one strain, one group. The other is the people who came from the East, which would be more correctly called Mizrahim. And the fourth group, I guess, today would be Timni Jews. Those form up the four groups. And what the Shla and Arizal, I believe, were trying to say is that we can be different, yet we're all supposed to work together, each with our own traditions, looking at different histories in exile. In any event, again, the concept is unity, working together, being organized. And now let's go back to my original question, is what does it have to do with this time of year? Not only do we have to develop on an individual basis, what we should be doing at this time of year if we want to get the full potential of these last number of days, as far as Omer, as well as to get a good Matan Torah, we have to look at the unity, the Achdut, which unfortunately these days is in many ways sadly lacking. We must reach out to other and look at what unites us, not what separates us. And if we can do that reaching out, realize there's differences, difference of opinion, you sort of four camps represent different qualities. Yet if we can all unite and start reaching out, we should merit a good Matan Torah. We should merit the end of this war, and hopefully soon the Tzedakah Mashiach, the coming of Mashiach. Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, and since Shavuos is going to be this coming week, before Shabbat, Chag Sameach, and good Yontif.